for the Hi everyone, thank you for joining us on this webinar to discuss and present our proposals around the MRC research data hubs in the space of pain and mental health. If I could just have the first slide to go through some housekeeping rules. Next slide, please. So just to remind everyone, this webinar is being recorded. So for those people who aren't able to attend, please do let them know that this will be available on the MRC and Versus Arthritis websites, so they can watch it at a later date. As there are no video or audios for all attendees, please do pop your questions into the question section and we will endeavour to answer those at the end of the session in the Q&A session. However, if we don't manage to answer them in the time, please do rest assured that we will post answers to all of the questions alongside the webinar on our website after this session is finished. If you do have any issues, then please do, about connecting, then please do go to the Zoom online help to see what the issues are. Next slide, please. So I'd just like to introduce the speakers today. So I'm Jo Latimer and I'm the Head of Neurosciences and Mental Health at MRC. I'd also like to introduce Dr. Simpson, who is Director of Research at Versus Arthritis, who we are pleased to say is partnering with us for the Advanced Pain Discovery Programme. Dr. Brakspear, who is Head of Programme for Mental Health at MRC, and also Ben Gordon, who is the Executive Director of the Hubs and Data Improvement at HDRUK. And I'm pleased to say that we are partnering with HDRUK on these research data hubs going forward. Next slide, please. So just a quick run through of the agenda for today. So I'd just like to introduce the concept that we're looking at with the research data hubs for pain and mental health, as well as outlining specifically around the advanced pain discovery platform that we're partnering with Versus Arthritis on. Stephen will then introduce Versus Arthritis and their vision for the pain collaboration that we're working together on. Karen will present around our mental health strategy and the specific mental health hub that we're looking to award. And Ben will introduce HDRUK and provide some more detail around how the hubs currently work and how these research data hubs that we're discussing today will feed into that. And then we'll have a question and answer session with a couple of additional panelists. Dave Walsh, who is the Director of the Advanced Pain Discovery Platform, and James Pickett, who is the Programme Manager at HDRUK. So in terms of the research data hubs, I'd just like to clarify that these will be two separate hubs, one focused on mental health and one focused around pain research. 2 million will be made available for each of the hubs, and these will be 3-year awards. As you can see, the timeline is quite tight. However, this is quite an iterative process, so please do contact us throughout the process, and we will do our best to help as we move forward. You may be aware also that there is a survey for both of the mental health and pain research data hubs, so I would encourage you to complete those as soon as you can so that that can feed into the needs of the research hubs going forward. It's also important to note that there is an intention to submit for both of these data hubs, and you will not be able to submit a full application if we have not received an intention to submit. Details are up on our website and also on this slide here as to who to contact to submit your intention to submit. Next slide, please. So just a little point of clarity around what is a data hub and what we are looking for as part of this endeavour. So this is very much focused around as data as infrastructure and looking to improve access to and the quality of data that is available to researchers. We're also looking to see what the unmet needs are of data users and how we can incorporate those into the data hub. We also expect there to be meaningful involvement of PPI throughout the lifetime of the data hub and and at the very inception, and a bit of co-creation from patients and people with lived experiences in the data hub. It's important to note that the data hubs themselves will not be there to fund research. So moving on, I will focus on the Advanced Pain Discovery Platform. For those of you who joined our webinar previously, which was focused on this, just a brief recap. This is very much a partnership with Versus Arthritis and UKRI partners, including BBSRC, ESRC. We also have Lilly as one of our founding industry partners. And this is a £24 million initiative over 5 years to look at advancing pain research across the UK. Next slide, please. There are 4 strands to the Advanced Pain Discovery Platform, of which we've already launched one, which is the consortia setup and the consortia phase of the Advanced Pain Discovery Platform. The data platform call is very much our second aim of this initiative, and it's very much around hosting data across the spectrum of pain research, not just from the consortia that will be set up, but from the whole research community. We very much want the Advanced Pain Discovery Platform to be a national platform that works for everyone who is either funded through the initiative, but also from outside of the initiative as well. We are very keen to ensure that the platform is an open access data platform according to all the usual guidelines around data access, but we would encourage people to engage with that platform to look at inputting current data sets that they have, as well as data sets that they might collect in the future. We also have 2 other strands. One would be very much around an additional research grant phase, and then a follow-on bioinformatics AI phase as well. I'll now pass on to Stephen, who is our partner in Versus Arthritis on this initiative. Stephen.
Thank you very much, Jo. It's a pleasure to be here and welcome everyone. I hope you find this an interesting webinar. Next slide, please. So just a little context for Versus Arthritis, who we are. We're the biggest organization funding research into musculoskeletal diseases and also helping people with the lived experience of arthritis and other related disorders in the UK. And we do this by provision of direct support and help for people with arthritis. We also amplify the voice and make sure that the voice is listened to and we have influencing at all levels. But we also fund world-class research, and we've invested over £250 million in research in this area over the last decade. So we are an organisation dedicated to pushing to defy the limits of arthritis that it impresses on people. Next slide, please. So why pain? Well, the first thing to say is our focus on pain spreads wider than just our research activities. It has led to the development of one of our key organisational priorities for Versus Arthritis, in that we refuse to accept pain limiting the lives of people with arthritis. In a sense, like mental health, with which chronic pain is so intertwined, it speaks for itself in terms of impact, and a few of the numbers are just here to illustrate this. But most of all, well, whether this is a burden of economic or health proportions in terms of impacting the health service, it's the impact on the individual and the severe life-changing impact that chronic pain can have that is the reason that we've chosen this as one of our key priorities for the charity. And for us, it's a major reason for us undertaking activity in this space. And it's a journey that's taken us onto new horizons. Next slide, please. And in terms of research, we're working in a number of ways with others in a collaborative way to ensure that we can meet this challenge. We're taking a strategic approach to targeted areas of pain research, whether that be through innovation and discovery in the form of the Advanced Pain Discovery Platform. When we're delighted to have collaborated with the councils and Lilly in formulating this new initiative, the biggest that we've invested in our history, and certainly one of the biggest endeavours in this space in the UK. We're also working in the area of drug development and research with pharma and other organisations, and clinical and experimental medicine in the form of a translational research collaboration with NIHR, which includes as one of its work streams chronic pain. So we continue to work with others and work with a variety of partners to achieve our aims. And this is a really important part of us working together in the collaborative spirit. Most importantly, however, it's the lived experience, next slide please, that perhaps represents the strongest, one of the strongest and most important parts of the collaborative way in which we need to press against pain. And we can do this through a number of ways, including involvement, engagement, and the participation of the lived experience and the people with the lived experience in our research. And for us, and through the APDP and through the hubs, it's really important that high quality patient involvement is crucial throughout the course of what we do together. And we would like to encourage all the applicants and all those considering whether they're working as consortia in the APDP hubs or the consortium in the APDP or in the data hubs to put this at the center of their planning and involvement. It's going to be critical to our success. So what have we done in terms of this, in terms of PPI, the APDP call? Well, patients and people with the lived experience have been involved in the design of the APDP and are also part of the International Science Advisory Board, a really crucial part of steering this process and into the funding decisions that we'll make around the APDP. And the management board and the funders group are committed to ensuring effective and meaningful patient and public involvement throughout the funded consortia. So we want to work together with you to ensure this happens. And we want to see clearly how we've already involved patients in your planning, as I've said already, and how you work with in partnership with patients in all of your work. So really this sums up for me and the work that we've done with the councils, the spirit of collaboration, both in how we've come together as funders to build on this wonderfully exciting initiative through the APDP and also through the data hubs for this really important global health challenge that is chronic pain. And for us, this goes beyond musculoskeletal chronic pain. This includes all chronic pain as envisaged through the APDP. And for us, it's the vision of collaboration that's so fundamental to the success of this whole endeavor. It's often said that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, but I think, and we all feel that this is genuinely true in the APDP and the spirit in which it's been brought together. And we're already seeing this in the consortia that have come through the first stages of the call. And I'm sure that this will also be the case for the hubs. So it's a pleasure for me now to hand over to Dr. Karen Brakspear, who is the head of mental health at MRC. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to take a few slides to take you through the mental health strategy at the MRC and how we've got to this point today and this call for a data research hub. So just to start off by saying that mental health is a core strategic priority for the MRC, and it's one of the health focus themes in our strategic delivery plan of 2019. And the MRC is one of the leading funders of mental health research in the UK, and we've spent almost £48 million in 2018. We published a strategy in 2017, the MRC strategy for lifelong mental health research, which outlined a number of priority areas of focus going forward that would complement our standard funding for mental health through grants and fellowship streams. And one of those areas, as I pulled up from that strategy here, is to speed up the progress of discovery through establishing a new resource for mental health research that will harness biological, clinical, environmental and social data from patients, cohorts and other relevant groups, and engage cutting-edge informatics technology and analytics expertise. So we're here building on that ambition and taking that forward into developing that infrastructure. So next slide, please. So the reason this being such a priority within that strategy is the breadth and scale of opportunity for impact from making better use of mental health data. And we know that unlocking the power of data really has the potential to inform our understanding of the etiology of mental health problems, accelerating the development of new treatments and approaches to improve care, identifying new targets and biomarkers that can improve diagnosis, prognosis, treatment and prediction of response. Importantly, a better understanding of comorbidities and the complex interactions between physical health and mental health, and also informing those strategies that we need for early intervention and prevention. So these are a huge range of opportunities, and really to capitalise on these, we need to look across quite a wide range of factors that play a role in our mental health, including those biological, clinical, social and environmental data sources. the range of factors at play, and we really do need these rich data sources to be able to understand how they interact to affect mental health at an individual and population level. So as funders, we've already made quite substantial investment into the generation of some of these data sources, including cohorts and longitudinal studies. And so we're really committed to maximising the research opportunities that such a diverse, rich and high level of data can provide. And we feel that it's really paramount for mental health research. So next slide, please. So to build on our priority within the strategy and to take us forward to this ambition of an integrated resource, the MRC funded 9 leading universities from across the UK in 2018. And these were the Mental Health Data Pathfinder initiatives. And so these were aimed at addressing key challenges or demonstrating exemplar studies that would help researchers to harness the power of data for mental health research and really inform what an integrated data resource might look like. So these investments total £10 million altogether, and they really had a range of areas of focus, looking at improving data discoverability, interoperability, access and sharing, or looking at methodologies for data linkage of diverse data sets, looking at harmonisation of measures and outcomes, or looking at incorporating a broader range of outcome measures into population and clinical studies, as well as enhancing those population and clinical studies for mental health research. So these data pathfinders generated a huge amount of outputs and really important findings and insights into mental health data science. And we really are launching the call for this hub in the full expectation that it will build on those learnings and those insights and those outputs and really capitalise on the investment that we've made feeding into this. So next slide, please. So just a few highlights of what we're going to be looking for in that mental health data hub, as you know, but we'll also be feeding in your survey results and our consultation to shape that. But just to pick up on a few points, we really do want it to add value to the landscape, to address a clear unmet need that really requires funding for this data infrastructure and service model. We're not looking to duplicate existing investments. We want to see impacts that couldn't be achieved through those existing investments or existing funding models. And the hub is really there to improve accessibility, usability and quality of data for users that want to conduct mental health research. So there is a need to be really outward facing and not a source of competition, but to help build the community and build collaboration and help the researchers in the community generate more competitive research. And as we've said throughout the presentation so far, PPI, involvement of people with lived experience of mental health problems, will be really critical all the way through in the governance, decision-making, development of the hub, and just ensuring that hub is really driven by the needs of the population and building that public confidence and trust. So we've identified a few areas in the consultation. For some of you who have already looked at the survey, this will be familiar to you, but so for mental health, I'm very aware that the opportunities are huge, and I really do hope the hub will grow and accommodate that opportunity going forward and grow and evolve. But I think at the initial stage, we're looking for a reasonably appropriately defined vision and goals to drive how that hub will be established and the data sets it will bring on board at the very beginning. So we are looking for feedback through that survey around areas of greatest need and opportunity where the hub could make a real impact beyond the current state of play in the next 3 years. And the other questions that we're going to be asking within that survey is what kind of improvements to the quality of data would be really valuable, what kind of services would be most valued by users, and what does success look like and what are the critical factors to inform that. So I hope this webinar is useful, and I hope it helps you respond to that survey, because your input is going to be really valuable going forward. So with that, I will pass on to Ben Gordon from HDRUK, who will take on the next session.
That's great. Thanks, Karen. Could we have, and the slide after that, please? So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ben Gordon, and as was mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of Hubs and Data Improvement at HDRUK. And we're very pleased to be partnering with MRC and versus Arthritis and others on supporting this call. So for those of you that haven't heard of Health Data Research UK, we're the National Health Data Science Institute. And as you can see there, our mission is to unite the UK's health data to enable discoveries that improve people's lives. And that we do that across a number of different areas. So the primary area of focus in the discussion today is our work across a number of health data research hubs, but we also work with many research organizations and universities in direct health data science and other research activities, all with that central mission of improving people's lives using health data. So if I can have the next slide, please. And we have a number of key strategic areas. So in order to enable those discoveries, we undertake a lot of work to unite data, so bring it together and increase the scale at which research can take place. We also have work to improve data, to make it more useful for researchers and innovators across the NHS, charities, industry, academia, the government, and public researchers. And then, of course, supporting people in using that with specific research projects. Next slide, please. And so we're very keen that the UK is a world-leading place for health data science to take place, both because of the opportunities for improving the economic outlook of the UK, but also the incredible opportunities for the health of the UK population, and using that as a kind of globally leading opportunity for research worldwide. And as part of our work, we were asked to deliver on behalf of the government and various central government departments a key part of the industrial strategy and the life sciences sector deal. And so as part of that, we were asked to lead the Digital Innovation Hub programme. About just over 2 years ago now this took place. And so as part of that process, we undertook a lengthy design and dialogue phase, so that rather than going straight into delivering the programme, we spent a lot of time talking to people, both kind of users of data, providers of health data, and patients in the public, academics, industry representatives, and so on. And through this process, we spoke to just under 3,000 people over a 6-month period, trying to look at what some of the challenges were that people faced, and how the investment in this Digital Innovation Hub programme could support world-leading research. And through that design and dialogue phase, the sort of original idea and sort of conception of the digital innovation hubs expanded into the wider program. So if we can get the next slide, please. So a lot of the challenges that we heard from kind of users and providers of data were not necessarily the sort of things that would be solved by specific investments in kind of targeted health data hubs. And so we also expanded the program to include the Health Data Research Alliance and the Innovation Gateway. So the Alliance, I'll talk through each of these sort of 3 pillars of the program shortly to go through how they can, how they've built out into a national infrastructure, and how the idea of health data research hubs for pain and for mental health could build on this work and contribute to that overall mission of improving people's lives. So if we take the next slide, please. So starting with our health data research hubs, we launched a call in May of last year for applicants to come forward with proposals for specific hubs. And these hubs had a particular area of focus, for example, a disease area or a kind of functional area, and clinical trials was one of the examples that was given in the call. And the idea was that consortia would come forward with an application or proposal to lead this hub, and would bring both data from their kind of various target areas and expertise, so services to support researchers to undertake projects in this area. So it was really important, and Joe's mentioned that earlier in this webinar, that these hubs were not research projects in themselves, but were externally facing. So the idea was that they would be very much led by the questions and the challenges that can't yet be achieved, and that the hub would support the kind of collation and uniting of data, the improvement of the data, and provide services to support researchers to kind of undertake these data-driven projects. And you can see there the examples of the sort of 7 initial hubs. So gut reaction, for example, in the top left is the hub for inflammatory disease. Breathe in the middle is the hub for respiratory health, and in the top right there, DataCan, the hub for cancer. And in addition to this, also in the bottom right there, you'll see the British Heart Foundation Data Science Centre. So the BHF have invested in data science capability in partnership with HDRUK. And while this is separate to the health data research hubs, it's a key part of this national infrastructure. So again, the BHF Data Science Centre has a role in supporting researchers in undertaking necessary health data science projects relating to cardiovascular disease. Next slide, please. So each of our existing hubs is supported by and involved in a wider health data research alliance. So this is a partnership of data custodians across the UK, and there's over 30 members of the alliance now and growing, and that ranges from national organisations such as Health and Social Care Northern Ireland or NHS Wales, through to specific NHS trusts across the UK, other national bodies such as NHS Digital or Public Health England, and then a number of charities and disease registries. And the Alliance works across a whole range of different subgroups, and you can see the examples on the slide there, aiming to drive up consistency and standards across the UK in how organisations work with patients and the public. Key work focusing on improving data quality, in promoting participation with data custodians, and making access to data clearer and more straightforward, and then also clarification on some of the technical requirements so that the trusted research environments in which data are held are of a sufficiently robust standard and easy for researchers to interact with. And so the hub network is able to, as members of this alliance, is able to contribute to and very much lead the way in developing these working areas and build on best practice across this sort of very rich network. Next slide, please. And another key part of the program is the Health Data Research Innovation Gateway. So I've lost the link there was going to be a link in the title of that slide, but I seem to have deleted it. But this is a website that is currently live. Anyone can type the URL in and search for data, and it holds metadata. So it doesn't hold any patient identifiable information, but acts as a catalog to support researchers in identifying the data sets that will meet their needs. It's being continually developed, so we're going through a very agile development process rather than sort of developing this in a room somewhere and coming out years later with what we think is the solution to the problem. We launched the first version of this a few months in, as a minimum viable product, and have been continually developing that. And as you can see, those numbers actually are currently out of date, because we have over 500 data sets discoverable through the gateway, and we're building and continually improving the process by which researchers can request access through the gateway itself and be supported in managing and communicating with the data custodians. So again, the hubs are very much involved in the development of the gateway. They all have sort of featured pages on the gateway that show the work they're doing and show the data that's available to them, from the hubs, as well as being involved in the development and communications of this. So next slide, please. So as I've mentioned, we have kind of 8 hubs, or sort of 7+1 hubs across the UK at the minute, each with different specialties and areas of focus. And each of the hubs, while they have very different models, different structures, different forms of kind of legal basis, they all work to support others in improving data and making it discoverable, so that researchers are able to undertake innovative projects that haven't been previously possible. And as HDRUK, we've always been very explicit from the outset of the initial hub call in May last year, that we see this network as being extensible, and that the initial hubs that were funded through that call were very much the starting point, and hence the focus on specific disease areas allowed the initial hubs to focus on certain areas of specialty and really support researchers in those areas. But there would always be space for others to come in and to join this network. And so this kind of idea of scaling up the hub network is essentially something we've called the hub in a box, because there's a huge amount of learning from our 7 health data research hubs, and also the work with the BHF Data Science Centre on benefits that can come from the commercial models across hubs, the lessons in improving data, the governance structures that are kind of most conducive to smooth operating, ways that hubs can communicate what they do, and also kind of specific resources that have been developed through the programme itself. So PPIE resources that hubs have used and shared with others, existing commercial frameworks, as well as legal templates and contracts that have been developed to be used across this hub network. So in sort of joining this programme, there's a huge amount that is already in place that the mental health and pain communities can benefit from. Next slide, please. One thing I just wanted to highlight, given the role of Versus Arthritis in this call, is that across each of the hubs, there are a number of charities involved in the hub community, and they have a very active role. And I guess two that I'd particularly highlight is the work of Crohn's and Colitis UK in gut reaction, the hub for inflammatory bowel disease, and also triple AMD, so action against age-related macular degeneration in Insight, the hub for eye health. And these the charities provide a great role in building on their existing communities, celebrating and advocating for the work of the hubs, but also then providing that critical friend and that challenging voice to ensure that hubs are continually engaging with patients and the public throughout the work that they do. So that's been a real positive development. Next slide, please. And I've just put there four bullet points to sum up. Now, there isn't really enough time in this webinar to talk through some of the lessons and learning from the hub program, and that will continue to feed through the call and beyond. But I thought it would be helpful just to highlight these 4 points. So starting with industry involvement, given the nature of the funding through the industrial strategy, the role of industry in the initial hub call has been a absolutely key one, and each of the existing hub consortia have industry as members of the hub. That's been beneficial, and it's allowed for a kind of informed view from the hub on how industry might work with the data custodians and undertake research, but also having industry as users of hub services. So being supported in undertaking these research projects with the expertise of the hub and with the ability to draw on the hub services and data to really maximize the health benefits and potential from these industry projects has been useful for those industry users, but also for the hub as a way of having an impact at a bigger scale and then generating income that can be then invested back in NHS services and improving the data itself. And that has been underpinned by the principles of participation. So this is a key set of principles that have been developed as part of the initial hub program, looking at how all participants in the program are agreeing to adhere to principles around fair data access, the Office of Life Sciences principles on value from data for the NHS, and some global standards on interoperability, so that any work that's done by the hubs and others involved in the hub program can benefit the UK as a whole and be sort of reused in wider research. Sustainability has been a key part of the initial hub program in looking at how these public investments and this public money can be used to develop kind of long-term sort of persistent benefits across the UK. While our initial funding has been is time limited, we're very keen on looking at how each hub can generate sufficient income to continue to support itself going forwards, because there's a continued need for these services, and that focus from the hub on who is using the services and how they will how they'll develop their own approach to kind of commercial and sustainability models has been it's been an ongoing challenge, but it has been something that we've had huge amounts of progress on even over the past 18 months. And again, opportunities there for the mental health and pain communities to benefit from that thinking. And then finally, the skills and training piece. The work in health data science is it can be a challenging area to staff, because there is so much more demand and potential for work than there are kind of qualified and capable individuals for this. And anyone working in this space will be very familiar with this challenge, which is one of the reasons that the HDRUK has a strong focus on training and skills development. So as part of our work across the Institute, we're looking at growing careers paths and building the capability across the country. So each of our hubs and national priorities is involved in both supporting this work and also benefiting from it in seeing that pipeline of trained individuals coming into this space. So I'll now pass back to I think Joe to sort of chair the questions.
Thanks very much, Ben. So we've got a bit of time now for some questions and answers. As I said, I'd like to introduce Professor David Walsh, who is the director of the Advanced Pain Discovery Platform, and also James Pickett, who is the Hub Development Manager at HDRUK. I noticed there's a lot of questions flying in. I suspect that we unfortunately won't be able to get through all of them during this session. However, please do rest assured that we will answer all the questions and those answers will be popped up on our website alongside this recording of the webinar. Before we start, just a few points of clarification. These are two separate hubs that we are looking to award. One will be focused around pain, and that's our initiative with Versus Arthritis and our other UKRI partners. And the other one is specifically around mental health. The hub itself will not fund research to collect data. And it's really important that everyone does complete the surveys, because that will help us tailor the call spec for each of these individual hubs, so that we make sure that we do try and meet as many of the user needs as possible going forward. So I'll pass over to Steve, who will read out the questions as we go along, and hopefully we'll be able to answer as many as we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all the panelists. I mean, you've touched on a lot of questions that have come in already, and I'll field some of those to you now to maybe reiterate some of those points. So maybe to start off, Karen, will this be expected to be a UK-wide initiative?
Thanks, Steve. That's actually that's actually one of the questions in the survey that we've asked around value of the hub looking to be UK-wide in its data ambitions, and getting some feedback from you from that. I mean, I'm certainly keen for the hub to consider diversity in data and helping that data reflect those populations most in need of mental health support for the mental health hub, certainly, and I'm sure that's the same for the pain. At this stage, I don't think we'll be specifying that the applicants have to have partners in each of the nations of the UK, but you know, we'll look to see what your feedback and how strong that is on that. But we do want the hub to be national in its outreach and impact, so we do want to see the needs across the UK being considered, and also the opportunities of working across the UK to be considered. I don't think we're expecting applications to just come from one single institution.
Thank you very much. And I think, Stephen, you've touched on this about inclusion of PPI, but is inclusion of PPI in the hub expected throughout, and would especially the voices of children and young people be included?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Steve. Naturally, this has to be part of what we do here. And I think the webinar today, getting input from those on the webinar and including in the survey, will help us in a sort of consultative way help develop how this can actually best happen. So yes, absolutely. I think we've heard earlier from Ben how this is sort of, you know, how the voice of the patient and the lived experience is built in through all layers actually of the development of the hub. So yes. Regarding children, yeah, absolutely. I think we want to incorporate the life course. Of course, it does depend on what comes into the data sets, and that is something that, you know, we can't exactly predict at this point in time, but given that there's a lifetime of these hubs, over the course of time, we can expect the data hubs to start to include that. So there's nothing certainly to exclude the input of the lived experience of the young person. And I think over the course of time, we will expect to see that. So yes, yes, and yes. I don't know if anyone wants to add to that, but I think it's really important to emphasize that this is absolutely core to what we want to try and achieve.
I think that is very clear, Stephen. Thank you very much. And maybe one question for James here. How would existing big data set fit with the new hubs that we're looking at here?
Existing data sets. Was
So
that the question?
Yeah, so existing big data sets that are already present in the communities.
Certainly. So I think they would be in the scope. I'm looking to some of my colleagues here. Yes, but they would be in the scope of the hubs. And it isn't solely about, I think it's a very open scope in terms of the data sets that can come into the hubs. And therefore, yes, we're looking for a wide range of high value data sets that we can bring in to create and improve.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, absolutely, existing data sets should be within scope. The key consideration in sort of developing that is essentially what would the work of a hub allow to happen that currently can't take place. And so that may be about sort of collecting additional data, but you know, there's quite a long lead time on sort of developing new data assets. So the ability to support others to use existing data in a way that they haven't been able to do before now would be a more sensible approach.
That sounds really good. Maybe a follow-up on that. Is the data hubs only bringing together routinely collected health data, or will there be research data such as cohort study data or genetic sets included?
Yes, absolutely, the latter. So again, looking across the existing HDRUK hub network, there is absolutely plenty of routinely collected data, but sort of genomic and genomic-wide association studies, imaging data, various kind of research cohorts, disease registries, kind of specifically collected data from given research projects, and actually going beyond health into environmental and educational data. So this, you know, that driving focus of what data can be used to improve people's lives, I think is a good thing to keep in mind.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I think a question here may be for Dave, where it goes specifically to pain, but touches a bit on mental health as well, where how can we avoid reductionism in the psychosocial aspect of chronic pain, since the core aspect of experience is often relegated to single constructs such as resilience or mood? Is it possible to develop a rich psychosocial data set that gives opportunity to identify psychosocial pathways to chronic pain?
So pain is a sensory and emotional experience by definition, and certainly the sort of data that we're looking for within the hubs is both biological and psychosocial. I don't think one can understand pain really without integrating the two. So as Joe said, the pain data hub and the mental health data hub are being funded as separate channels, as separate initiatives. But the idea of a hub is to channel the use of data from the people who are generating the data to people who can maximize outputs from the data for the benefit of people with, in our case, pain. And the more astute amongst you will recognize that using similar processes for both hubs, I would expect to enable that sort of linkage to happen that maybe currently can't happen. But it's not a preferential linkage to the mental health data hub. It's that we're talking about linkage of data sets together within the pain data hub and outside the pain data hub to other data sets. So yes, I anticipate a very rich biopsychosocial data set leading to much improved outcomes.
And maybe touching upon that, Joe, if mental health outcomes is studied in patients with chronic pain, should they be included in the APDP platform or the mental health initiative?
So where data is collected around patients and it includes mental health outcomes around pain, that should be included within the pain hub. But as David has clearly articulated, the benefit of being a hub is that there are real clear interlinkages between the various hubs that have already been funded, and also with the pain and the mental health that will be funded going forward, so that you can ask these bigger research questions. So as I say, where the data is associated with the patient or the person with lived experience for the pain hub, then that should be included within the pain data.
Thank you very much. And again, a bit more on who can apply, maybe Karen, what kind of partnerships are we looking for? Are IT researchers or early career researchers welcome to apply?
So in terms of partnerships, the call will be quite, open to applicants. Obviously, we have reasonably strict eligibility rules, but we are looking for the applicants to consider their partnerships quite carefully, and not, it doesn't need to be just academia, looking across industry, NHS, charities as well, and thinking about making those partnerships really meaningful, well thought through, and really value adding in terms of how they're going to help the hub really address an unmet need in the user community. In terms of AI and IT expertise, I suspect that will be quite important. So yes, I think that's something that we'd be looking to see being brought in, as well as those more domain experts in terms of mental health and pain. Early career researchers, I hope this will be a good source of training and experience and bringing early career researchers through into mental health data science. So yes, I think we'd be looking for this to be very broad in terms of the people that are engaged and brought along the journey.
Thank you very much. I think that's cleared up something for people. And again, maybe, Stephen, I think you were quite clear on the involvement of PPI earlier, but how are we expecting this to be directly addressing the needs of people with lived experiences of mental health and pain problems?
Need to be quicker off the mark there, Steve. Thank you. I'm sure actually Dave and others will have, and Karen will probably have a view on this. I might answer it in the following way. I think there are several ways in which the hubs have described and the work that will generate and the data generated and the act of generating the data could have an impact in a number of ways. Of course, they're rather obvious, enabling the new discoveries through the APDP to have traction and mobilization. The data generated through the APDP, for example, and the new knowledge will be mobilized and used. Accelerating new treatments and solutions for us as a charity, that's something we absolutely want to see. A third I'd add to this, though, is empowerment. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but if we are to truly engage and bring in the lived experience, whether that's through mental health or pain, that in its own right has a beneficial effect. And I'm sure those on the call who have the lived experience in either case and are advising us and working with us would agree that the very act of being part of this journey and helping inform how data is generated, used and collected through the hubs and how collaborations happen is in itself a direct impact. So it's both how the data generated is used and mobilized, new treatments, etc., but also the very act of bringing in the lived experience to the process. So that would be my answer, possibly different for other people, but I hope it gives some sense of why I think that there will be directly addressing the needs of people with the lived condition can be achieved through this.
Thank you, Stephen. I think that's very clearly articulated. And maybe a bit on the technical side again, James or Ben, will there be any centralized expert areas that can be used by applicants or by grant recipients in this in terms of expertise in, for instance, bioinformatics?
So I think possibly what might be most useful as a starting point is some of the HDRUK publications, particularly I think on the trusted research environment. The recently published, or several months ago now, green paper on TREs as a way of looking at some of those recommendations nationally on the architecture and technical infrastructure that we'd like to see UK researchers moving towards. So I think that's that's a good starting point, and we have other green papers out on areas including our work on data standards that again I think would be helpful resources.
Thank you very much. And then maybe a question to Karen, which might be difficult to answer, but what are the most important areas for innovation in mental health?
I think that's really for the survey to help us identify. I mean, we developed in our strategy some really important areas that we want to look ahead in terms of MRC funding. And I know that a lot of work has already gone on in terms of the mental health data science group, facilitated wonderfully by the MQ Mental Health Research Charity, looking at this area and identifying those key areas. And a couple of papers have been published through the work of that group. So we know that there's a broad range of really important opportunities. Like I said, I really hope the hub will evolve and develop to grab hold of all those opportunities. But I think in the initial term, I think we'll expect applicants to think about focusing in on one or a few of those opportunities. And I hope the survey will give us some feedback on what they could be.
Thank you very much. And it's good to remind that the survey is very helpful to us in developing these things. So maybe, I think you mentioned it already, Ben, but a bit on how this data will be accessible to users. I know you mentioned the gateway previously. Is that where users and industry collaborators as well will be accessing this kind of data?
So the gateway is a sort of great resource for consistency in terms of how data can be discovered, and there is a kind of process in place by which users can be supported in kind of accessing the data. One thing just to be very clear on is that the decisions on the legal basis for accessing data remains with the legal data custodian. So the role of the hub program isn't to kind of undermine any of the routes for access, but instead to support clarity and consistency, clear information, and achieving kind of a harmonized approach nationally. So a big part of the work with the Alliance is making it more straightforward and clear for researchers to access it. But the routes for access will and decision making for that will remain with the legal data controller.
Thank you very much. That is very clear. I think that is all the questions that we will manage for today. I'll hand back to Jo now.
Thanks very much, Steve. I'd just like to thank all of the panelists and speakers today for taking the time to participate in the webinar. I'd also like to thank all the attendees for also taking the time out of your day to listen to us hopefully articulate what our vision is for these going forward. Steve, if you could just pop up the last slide, please, which has a few contact details for you. Just to once again reiterate, these will be two separate hubs that we are looking to award, one for pain and one for mental health. These will be 3-year awards, up to £2 million for each of the hubs. That is what is available. Please, I do encourage you to complete the hub surveys. This is what will feed into the call text once we understand the user needs for each of the communities. So please, I will encourage you once again, do complete that survey so that can feed into the call text. We will look at releasing the call in the first week of December, and that will clarify hopefully all the details as to what can be requested under this call, and also all the considerations that applicants will need to make in terms of pulling together the hub. Please don't forget that we are here, so please do email the respective pain and mental health inboxes, and we will endeavour to answer all your questions as we move through this journey. And also, if you do choose to apply to the call, please do not forget to submit your intention to submit in January. As I said, more details will be up on our website, so please do go back to that. And no, the deadline won't be just after Christmas. You'll be relieved to know. I've just seen a quick question come in on the chat. So the deadline for full applications will be end of February. But as I said, all details are up on the website for both of these initiatives. If you have any further questions, please do contact us directly. Please do refer any of your colleagues who haven't been able to attend the webinar, that this is recorded and will be made available on our website, along with any unanswered questions that we haven't been able to get through today. Thank you very much.